Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Let's take a look at the headlines. The mighty Sparrow to receive the nation's highest award, the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Diplomatic ties to be strengthened between China and Trinidad and Tobago as the Prime Minister departs for China. And malicious defamatory libel bill passed in the upper house. Thank you for joining us. The diplomatic relationship between Trinidad and Tobago and the People's Republic of China is expected to be strengthened following the Prime Minister's official state visit. A number of bilateral agreements are expected to be signed and cooperation in new fields to be explored.
Prime Minister the Honourable Kamla Persad-Bissessor, SC, will depart Trinidad and Tobago on Thursday for an official visit to the People's Republic of China, which will take place from February 23rd to 28th. The Honourable Prime Minister will lead a delegation which comprises Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honourable Winston Tukaran, Minister of Trade, Industry and Investment, Senator the Honourable Vasant Barath, and Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs, Senator the Honourable Kevin Ramnarine. The Prime Minister's visit comes at a time when there is a wave of new leadership in China. This new leadership is supported by a fresh vision for growth and sustainable development, looking outward to the global stage, finding and offering new opportunities to build an economy that is already set to convincingly redefine itself in terms of trade and investment, culture, education, energy and sport. Prime Minister Persad-Bissessor's visit also coincides with the celebration of the 40th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries. During the Prime Minister's visit, she will officially open the Embassy of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago in China. That is carded for Wednesday, February 26th. There are several items on the bilateral agenda. Not only will the Prime Minister have the opportunity to engage in one-on-one discussions with her Chinese counterpart, but she will also review the bilateral relationship between Trinidad and Tobago and China, which has been placed high on the agenda. A number of other proposals for deepening the bilateral relationship between the two countries will be introduced for further deliberation, and these are related to trade and economic cooperation, energy cooperation, tourism, infrastructural development, cooperation in security, and technical and cultural cooperation. During the visit, Invest TT will have the opportunity to participate in interactive sessions with leading trade and investment officials, and in so doing, be able to analyze and consider on the ground not only what opportunities exist, but how they can be taken forward to clear the path for increased bilateral relations. 4 agreements are proposed to be signed following the bilateral discussions between the Chinese Premier and the Honourable Prime Minister. These are the Memorandum of Understanding between the General Administration of Sport of the People's Republic of China and the Ministry of Sport of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago for cooperation in the field of sport. The MOU between the governments of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and the People's Republic of China concerning cooperation in energy and energy-related matters, the Bilateral Air Services Agreement between the Government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and the Government of the People's Republic of China, and the Protocol between the Government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and the Government of the People's Republic of China concerning the posting of a Chinese medical team to work in Trinidad and Tobago. The Honourable Prime Minister was invited to China by Chinese President Xi Jinping during his visit to this country last year. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
The mighty Sparrow has received another national award for his contribution to local music and culture. This comes after the government took the decision to bestow upon him the country's highest national award, the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Dr. Slinger Francisco, popularly known as the Mighty Sparrow or the Calypso King of the World, has received another prestigious award to add to his vast collection. In 1969, Sparrow received the Hummingbird Silver from the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Since then, he has received local and international forms of recognition, along with an honorary doctorate from the University of the West Indies, Road March titles, Calypso Monarch titles, and several Lifetime Achievement Awards. On Wednesday, Prime Minister the Honourable Kamla Persad-Bissessor, speaking at the Superior Women's Association Kiddies Carnival Parade and Competition, announced the government's decision to bestow upon the Mighty Sparrow the country's highest award, the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
The prestigious Order of Trinidad and Tobago, the highest national recognition and honor which can be awarded to any citizen. It is a fitting tribute to the contribution you've made to our country and to the world. I am very pleased that I'm also able to announce to you personally and in your presence the rest of the country. I am sure the national community will agree, a richly deserved honor indeed. I am also very pleased to announce that my government has further agreed to cover all the medical expenses incurred by your recent illness, from which, by the grace of God, you successfully recovered.
Sparrow's music has circled the globe, gaining him worldwide recognition and respect. In September 2013, he slipped into a coma after battling with health complications for years. However, after 24/7 medical attention, Sparrow emerged from the coma and returned to Trinidad and Tobago in February 2014 to be a part of the Carnival celebrations. The Honorable Prime Minister said it was truly a privilege and a blessing for the 78-year-old Calypsonian to attend the celebrations in Pinal. She said she has long admired and enjoyed the impressive work of the mighty Sparrow, whose unparalleled contribution to our music and our culture has been hailed all over the world.
In the immortal words of your calypsos and the unique style of your showmanship, you have entertained our senses and challenged our sensibilities. Your words have inspired, reflected, caused serious instruction, and at times have just provided sheer miracle, lyrical, musical delight. The distinctive Sparrow laugh, which I'm sure we'll hear today, has characterized many of your presentations and artfully punctuated many of your performances, which has been beguiling and delightful. Sir, you are literally one of a kind, emulated but never duplicated.
Sparrow then entertained the crowd with one of his popular renditions after he thanked the government and people of Trinidad and Tobago for the award.
Two white women traveling through Africa find themselves in the hand of a cannibal headhunter. He cook up one and he eat one raw. They taste so good the bugger wanted more. We want more.
Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
The Parliament has amended the defamation laws of Trinidad and Tobago so that persons can no longer face criminal prosecution for malicious defamation charges. The bill, titled An Act to Amend the Libel and Defamation Act, Chapter 1116, to abolish malicious defamatory libel, was passed in the Upper House on Tuesday.
Defamation is legally defined as the publishing by word or written statement of an untrue accusation against the reputation of another person. Addressing the Senate during debate on the bill, Attorney General Senator the Honorable Anand Ramlogan says discussions with the Trinidad and Tobago Publishers and Broadcasters Association and executives of the International Press Institute have led him to bring this bill to abolish malicious defamation. The bill seeks to repeal Section 9 of the Libel and Defamation Act, which speaks to the offence of malicious defamatory libel and imposes a fine and 1 year imprisonment on a person convicted of maliciously publishing any defamatory libel. The Attorney General says the law must be changed as the current libel and defamation laws have stood for almost 2 centuries.
That we are confronting today a law that has been in place for 169 years, because times have changed, and I dare say that the role of the press 169 years ago is clearly not what it is today. It cannot be the same.
He adds that while the law has never been used against the press, the mere fact it is in existence is a threat to freedom of press and democracy.
No law can be seen as oppressive until such time as it is invoked to the detriment of the press. And the fact that it exists as a sword hanging over their head, one that can be utilized at any point in time against them by any regime, is something that is of grave concern. But it's also about the image of Trinidad and Tobago internationally. We, as a maturing democratic society, and one of the leaders in the Caribbean, in this part of the world, we would want to show that we have kept a pace with the rest of the world in strengthening and bolstering our democracy. And one of the critical pillars and institution of our democracy is obviously the free press and the media.
The Attorney General says although the bill seeks to repeal jail time for malicious defamation, that doesn't now mean that persons can defame others carte blanche and not expect to face the courts. He explains something must still be in place to deter people from committing the act.
We felt as a government that it was necessary to retain Section 8 because that section is the one that says if a person maliciously publishes any defamatory libel, knowing the same to be false, then they are liable on conviction to imprisonment for 2 years and such fine as the court may impose. Now, that is a very important provision to retain because it is more difficult to get a conviction under that provision, but it remains there as something in extreme and exceptional cases to which recourse, as a form of recourse.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
News 4 continues right after the break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Repair work has begun on 11 bridges throughout Trinidad and Tobago as the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure continues with its bridge reconstruction program. The program has identified 62 bridges throughout the country which are in dire need of repair.
For many, people may think that, well, this is just another bridge. But for a community, this really means something.
Minister of State in the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, the Honorable Stacey Rupnarine, as she echoed the sentiments of many of the villagers in the Hermitage community. The Hermitage Community Bridge is something which many villagers have been clamoring for, and Minister Rupnarine says her ministry is pleased to have delivered. She adds, while it may not have come within the time frame many wished, the background work and challenges faced made the delivery much more satisfying.
Many persons may say, well, it wasn't so quick because it took some time to get it done. But in my own experience, and that is in the Ministry of Works, a lot of times when you are doing bridges, it takes a little while to do the design. And then you have to go through your process of tendering and so on. So that sometimes you don't see the work happening outside, but work is actually being done in the background. A lot of times on projects such as these, you have to relocate water lines, you may have to move electricity poles and so on. And so that usually takes a lot of time. There were many challenges, and of course, when you overcome those challenges, it just means so much more. So I really want to say a very heartfelt thank you to PSAL and their contractor for the quick response.
Minister Rupnarine says the Hermitage Bridge is just one of the many bridges the ministry plans to rebuild, repair or reconstruct.
The Ministry of Works is undertaking several bridges this year through our own program called the Bridges Reconstruction Program. And through that program, we have identified 62 bridges across Trinidad that are in dire need of repair. 62 bridges. Of course, you cannot do 62 bridges all at once. The Minister of Finance will say that we need to allocate funding to other ministries as well. So we are going to try our best to accommodate as much of these as we can. So far, we've designed 25 structures, and we have 11 of those structures that are started.
She explains that bridges are highly important because oftentimes when a bridge collapses, it cuts off a community and creates inconvenience. The minister insists it is for this reason the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure will do what it must to ensure that all bridges in need of repair are dealt with. Gregory McBurney, News 4.
In other news, the Water and Sewage Authority advises customers in parts of central and southwest Trinidad who are currently experiencing reduced supply or low water pressures that this is as a result of mechanical problems being experienced at the desalination plant Point Lisas, which has affected production. The desalination plant at Point Lisas is owned and operated by the Desalination Company of Trinidad and Tobago, DESALCOT, and has been supplying WASA with an average of 32 million gallons of water per day. With the announcement, a cutback in production to 27 million gallons of water per day is expected. This situation has had an adverse effect on WASA's overall supply position, and as a result, temporary water supply schedules have been introduced in a number of central and southwestern areas. The complete listing of temporary water schedules will be published in the daily newspapers starting on Thursday, February 20th, and will also be available on the authority's website at www.wasa.gov.tt and the authority's Facebook page, WASA Trinidad and Tobago. The authority apologizes for the inconvenience to its customers, but this has become necessary in order to allow DESALCOT to undertake the repair work at its desalination plant. For further information, customers are encouraged to contact WASA's Customer Service Bureau toll-free at 800-4420 or 800-4426. More news right after the break. Stay with us. The Defense Force returned to TT Pro League competition on Tuesday following a 6-week absence due to national duty. Ross Russell and his men faced Central FC at the Attobolen Stadium in Couva. And News 4 Sports was there. Here is Wayne Cunningham with the highlights.
A tear-jerking moment before the start of the match as head coach Ross Russell presented a token to the family of slain Defense Force player Roel Fletcher. As the match got underway, the men of Central FC were in no mood to entertain a fairy tale comeback to competition for the military as action continued in the TT Pro League on Tuesday. The rusty Army legs had to do some dogged defending early on as Marvin Oliver and Willis Plaza caused no end of worries. Then, a man who had aspirations of being a soldier early in the season, Samuel Lelise, rocked the woodwork of Sheldon Clark's goal. It was not all defense for the men in baby blue though, but Devon Jostling would have to put more into it to beat John Michael Williams. In the 34th minute, the deadlock was broken as the free kick by Jason Meccano caused some confusion and Marvin Oliver capitalizes for Central. The veteran captain adjusting well to give his team a 1-0 lead at the halftime whistle. Central thought they had doubled that lead 3 minutes into the second half, but the offside was clear despite the protest. In the 70th minute, the Army, Coast Guard and Airmen combo almost got the equalizer after Joven Balazar whipped in a sweet cross, but Williams was on spot to deal with a Kevin Carter effort. Four minutes after that, the Couva Sharks would make it 2-0. Jason Meccano doing all the hard work and reaping the benefits as he puts his team further ahead for good. Meccano then showed his skill on the touchline when he held up play until the final whistle as his team moves to third with the win. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
Thank you very much, Wayne. Now we're switching from sport to culture, carnival. Now, youth development and inspiration has been among the main focus of the Morva Ebonites for the 4 decades it has been in existence. Anthony Harewood, manager of the newly renamed Morva, or that should be Morva HDC Ebonites, in an exclusive interview with News 4 stated that the 30-member band has always placed prominence on this aspect of community development, as only through the young people can the much-needed change in Morva really occur.
A quote from an unknown Trinbagonian musician states that music builds community and acts as a form of communication. This notion has long been accepted and agreed to by many music enthusiasts. One such person is Anthony Harewood, manager of the newly renamed MOVA HDC Ebonites. Mr. Harewood, during an interview, explained that the 30-member band, which was formed 4 decades ago, has had an unwritten mandate to inspire the young people of the MOVA community. Harewood said in all the band does, youth development has always been its focus, explaining that with the stigma of MOVA being a crime-infested community, the young people has had many difficulties from inward and external elements.
We're fighting for years, to get something in MOVA going for the youths. Because my job is all about sustaining the youths and pointing them towards positives. We lost about 6 or 7 players to the gun for the past 7 years.
Mr. Harewood explained how the stigma also affected the band.
From over years ago, I know like when people are applying for police or anything, they used to get that, go by the aunt and apply and say, give our address in Arima or Sawa or St. James. It seemed that it was the same thing from over Ebonite. Like we started to say Arima, MOVA, Ebonite, because the mere mention of the word MOVA, it was so stigmatized that it had a word always come back to us. And that word is unfortunately. No matter what, who are we beg and ask, like, nice words come back, good response, but unfortunately at this time, we can't assist you.
Mr. Harewood says the band has made a positive impact but was looking forward to doing more. But for this, financial support was needed. This eventually came from the Housing Development Corporation, which had never before sponsored a steel band. On January 30th, 2014, the HDC signed the Memorandum of Understanding with the band and also released a $100,000 check for the band to pay their suppliers of equipment in steel pans.
In 2011, really, I went to a little function and I saw Minister Munilal. Well, brave me already. I approached him and he said, well, give me a call now. I said, but I don't have your number. The man really come and turn and give me his cell number now. And that is in 2011, and we start communication to and from, tell me grow up near steel band, and he want to know more about steel band. And so we go in 2012, as in 2013, he really started to come closer to me, to us in MOVA. He opened me and he get a sense of what really we want. Because we neglected it. For years we neglected in the community of MOVA and Lavanti, which is my first cousin. You understand? And the man come to the Panyard on the 8th of November last year. But we always had plans drawn up by one brand, Seret. Nice plan for PAN schools, to hold the youths, to project PAN. That's the medium I wanted to use always for crime eradication.
Mr. Harewood, during our interview, stated his appreciation for all those who supported the band, especially the HDC, and Minister Rudal Munilal, and QRC teacher Wendy McKenzie, who assisted secretarially as well as with mentorship of the young people. Felicia Wilson, Mon News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 Report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.